Member for Ballina.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister responsible for Agriculture. Minister, given that the biggest threat of new fire ant nests turning up in the northern rivers is from a human-assisted movement of ants from within the Brisbane suppression zone, and given reports that the density of nets in that zone is getting out of control due to lack of funding, what is your government doing to ensure Federal and Queensland governments increase the funding for suppression efforts?
Minister.
Mr Speaker, I thank the member for Ballina for that important question, and I know that her constituents, and particularly agricultural constituents, would appreciate her questioning this. I know it's also a great concern for the members for Lismore, for Tweed and for Clarence, the fire ants' intrusions into New South Wales. It is the issue of the fire ants is one that's very serious, and it does require a national approach. I'd certainly acknowledge the concern that the member is expressing around the concentration of fire ants in the Brisbane region, and that's why it's so important that when we deal with these biosecurity problems that we do it in a nationally coordinated way, and that states, even those states that don't at that time share the problem, contribute to the addressing of the problem, like fire ants. That's why when this government has increased the funding from $15 million to $80 million to the eradication of fire ants over 4 years. That goes on top of an announcement in October by former Minister Watt of an additional federal investment of $268 million to the national program over 4 years to intensify activities. What that funding is going to do is increase at a national level the program to include 350 new workers, a new depot, new vehicles, new aerial eradication contracts, and an additional 1,400 tonnes of bait each year. So particularly focusing obviously on those Queensland outbreaks. Without these measures, it's estimated that fire ants could reach Grafton by 2026 and the Blue Mountains in far western New South Wales by 2035. And we know that that would be an incredibly serious threat to communities because the fire ants cause huge economic loss, but also pain and suffering. The Department of New South Wales has established a cross-border task force with the Queensland Department of Agriculture and Fisheries and the New South Wales Police to increase compliance levels in New South Wales. The New South Wales Government does have frequent conversations with our federal counterparts regarding the range of biosecurity measures, and we'll be making sure that we continue to do so. New South Wales does contribute more than any other state to the national biosecurity programs at 16%, and we recognise that eradicating fire ants will take a whole-of-community approach and can't be ignored if we are to try and avoid the massive costs that fire ants are likely to cause if they spread further, and indeed in the areas where they already exist. The potential costs are quite enormous. An estimated annual cost of $1.65 billion nationally is predicted should fire ants become endemic.
Member for Ballina. An additional 2 minutes is granted. Minister.
Thanks. Thank you to the member for Ballina. As I said, an estimated annual cost of $1.65 billion nationally is predicted should fire ants become endemic, with devastating effects on agriculture, infrastructure, health and tourism. And New South Wales would obviously be one of the first places to suffer if the current Queensland infestation was to spread further. In New South Wales itself, we have bolstered with 6 full-time equivalent team members specialising in intelligence, compliance, communication and technical areas, and they're working full-time on fire ant eradication, and they are there to respond within hours of suspect ant reports. There's been 1,800 calls to the New South Wales Biosecurity Helpline, 982 reports of suspect ants, with 978 of those assessed as being negative since November 2023. Almost 1,200 surveillance events have been recorded in that time, and the team has engaged with more than 4,600 people face-to-face, reaching out to over 500,000 people on social media, 57,000 through schools program and 10,300 via email, 48,000 via letterbox drops and 32,000 via SMSs. So that's directly aimed at trying to make sure that people are keeping an eye out for the fire ants, but also aware of the danger that the member mentioned in the question, that human transfer is the greatest danger to fire ants coming into New South Wales. Mr. Speaker, this government is strongly committed to addressing biosecurity issues in New South Wales. Minister Moriarty is doing a great job on this area and fire ants. She's also tackling a number of really important invasive pest species. And I hear the opposition interjecting, but let's face it, $15 million was the contribution that the other side made to fire ants. It's gone up now $85 million more. That is the commitment that this government has made.